The Bosnian Beast was bodaciously boastful with a bountiful abundance of assists. But what does it mean for his future? It's next on Locked on Jazz. Pow.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I am David Locke. On today's show of Locked on Jazz, we will look at whether Detroit might have figured something out and a common thread amongst the best defensive teams in the NBA that's important for the Jazz moving forward. We will look at what a backup center means and should be paid for the Utah Jazz next year. And that all relates to whether Yousef Nurkic returns after a wonderful season with the Utah Jazz. And that's where we start on today's edition of Locked on Jazz. Thank you for all of you who dealt with the Spotify Apple glitch yesterday. I know that for a second our feeds told you had to pay. That's not true. Promise. We're still free and available. And I apologize that you didn't get the shows if you were on Spotify or Apple there for a little bit. Can I give you all a suggestion? Very questionable to start a business in which you have no control of your distribution system and no way to directly contact your customers. Just a thought. All right. Nurk was great this year. Out for the year with the deviated septum surgery. And, you know, when the Jazz acquired Nurkic, no one quite understood why. And the fact is, if you look back, the Jazz had to give up a second-round pick to acquire him with Colin Sexton. And Nurk was terrific. What Nurk was really what Nurk is. We didn't follow him a lot since he was in Portland. I don't think you understand him until you have him every day, both positively and negatively. But he was really terrific. His pick setting opened up Keyonte's year. I don't think there's any question that part of Keyonte's burst this year is because he was playing with Nurkic. I haven't dug into the on-off numbers on Keyonte's season entirely, but I would say that's not like Nurk's pick setting is so much better than any center that Keyonte played with at any point in his career. It is a large reason why suddenly he burst. The assists by Nurk were just terrific. He is a rebounding beast inside, size-wise. His defensive rebounding percentages have always been elite. And this is really what Nurk has always been, actually. He's 31 years old, and yes, his 4.8 assists for us was a career high. If you go back to his last year in Portland, he's 4.0. If you go back to his kind of third year in Portland, he's 4.0. And that's with Dame Lillard and with CJ McCollum needing the ball. The thing that changed on Nurk is after 2019-20, when he had the horrific leg injury, he just hasn't been as mobile defensively as a center, and he just hasn't, he was a pretty good defensive player, 16, 17, 17, 18, 19. He hasn't been a great defensive player. Or maybe the better way to say it, he's just not been on teams that were good defensively. It's a little bit of a mystery when you look at Nurk on whether he's the defensive issue as the cornerstone center who doesn't block a lot of shots, doesn't move a lot, and isn't great on pick and roll defense, or whether or not it's just he's been on really bad defensive teams because he was on the Portland team with Dame and CJ, which was a terrible defensive team. Then he goes to Phoenix for 2 years, and I believe on the Frank Vogel team, which was good defensively, they were fine with Nurk on the floor. So it's a little still of a mystery there. So let's give Nurk his due. He was absolutely fabulous for us. There are two areas that are a weakness for Nurk that I think has got him kind of into this limbo position he's going to be in as a 32-year-old free agent. One, he is not a good rim finisher. He is, in fact, one of the least good rim finishers of anyone in the NBA. And the impact of that is that his efficiency is really low. And his efficiency therefore hurts the team offensively. While he does all the other things very, very well, when you look at Nurk on points gained, which is our offensive metric that judges efficiency, he doesn't come out well because he shot 58% at the rim, which is in the 14th percentile of all centers. He only shot 50% overall. It's just It's always where he's been. He has not had a single year of his NBA career where he's been above average for a big guy in effective field goal percentage, even with his improved three-point shooting this year. He's never had a season in his NBA career where he was over the 25th percentile in rim finishing for a big guy. Okay, it's a real issue. Like, the one thing I'll say about our seasons last few years, and this is hopefully coming to an end, is the weaknesses of our players we're willing to accept because the winning's not the priority. And so this is one where, like, it's a big drawback to how Nurk is perceived around the league and what he does. On the defensive end, the interesting one on Nurk is which is the other weakness. There's absolutely two different ways to look at this. So on one, and you can just choose the numbers you want. So on one level, if you look at Nurk, this year, the defense was 6 points better with him on the floor than off the floor. Okay. We also were playing Kevin Love and Kyle Filipowski as the backup centers. But that's also true if you go to Phoenix 2 years ago when they were good defensively. He had a fabulous year. They were plus 12 better when he was on the floor than off the floor. That's just 2 seasons ago under Frank Vogel, not under Mike Budenholzer. And they were 6 points better when he was on the floor defensively than off the floor. His last year in Portland, they were 6 points better on the floor defensively than was off the floor. The year before that, they were 11 points better. Now, what's tricky here is on all of these teams, they're terrible defensively. And so I don't actually know entirely how to look at this. I don't have a good answer for you here. I really don't. From an analytical standpoint. If you look at the lineups of Portland in those years, when Nurk's on the floor, they're better defensively than when any of their other guys were on the floor, but they're not good defensively. The 1 year is the year Frank Vogel, who is really maybe one of the best defensive coaches in the NBA, was there. But the other thing on Nurk is the backup centers for that team were Drew Eubanks predominantly. And when Nurk was on the floor, that Portland team they were average defensively. So when you look at Nurk in the future, the real question is whether someone thinks he's a starting center anymore at 32 years old. And I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt that anyone in the NBA is going to decide that Nurk is their starting center for next season. And if it is, then I don't think it's a particularly, in fact, nobody did this year, right? Let's be clear about that, right? The Walker Kessler was supposed to be the starter, and Nurk was supposed to be the backup. So with that said, that leads to question 2. And question 2 is, what should the Jazz pay a backup center? And is that a number which Yousef Nurkic could return to the Utah Jazz under? Now, I do think that Nurk would be one of the best backup centers in the NBA. It would be quite a coup if you could bring Yousef Nurkic back as your second center. So let's look at what backup centers in the NBA get paid and what the Jazz probably need to pay their backup center next year after paying Walker and signing Walker to a longer-term deal, and whether it means Yousef Nurkic can return for the Utah Jazz. Wednesday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by our friends over at Intercap Lending. Brock Worthen's been the president over there for some time and just runs a great program. I mean, some of the stuff they do just in the community is what, to me, jumps out. If it's, the kids' backpack runs that they're always in every year to make sure that kids are taken care of. And then the customer service that they just absolutely insist. And that's where we are the benefactors of this because we're with Steve Carter. Steve Carter is our own personal loan officer. He has been with Locked On for 7 years now, and is absolutely incredible. And it's my pleasure to send people over to his direction. He is now clear in 43 different states. So if you're outside of Utah, you can still get the benefit of using Steve Carter. It is not Utah only. Rates have come down a little bit in the last month. What Steve is doing with people right now is obviously some people can refinance. Others, they haven't moved quite enough. So let's sit down, get a chance, figure out what's the right number, when's the right time, when is it beneficial to you. Let's get a quick review and get ahead of the game right now with Steve Carter. Also on construction loans, they're offering 2-time closed construction loans. If you already own the land and you can put the land toward your down payment, there's also an option to defer interest payments during construction, which helps with cash flow while the house is being built. He handles all standard purchase loans, including conventional FHA, VA, and now, as I said, in 43 states. And they keep having him add states. So if you want to have just the best customer service experience, if you're looking for a loan right now, Steve Carter is our own personal loan officer over at Intercap Lending. Email me at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com so we can get you the VIP treatment you deserve at Intercap Lending. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. Want to go to the NBA Finals? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you automatically entered into a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Use your profit boost. Pick a team to win a championship or grab a conference title. It adds an extra layer of excitement down the stretch. Now, not only can your pick cash, but it can also send you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on any NBA futures and get entered for your chance to win the NBA Finals. Play your game at FanDuel.com, the official sportsbook partner of Locked On over at FanDuel.com and the betting partner of the NBA. Right now, NBA leads the way. Detroit and Oklahoma City, big one tonight. And Detroit is an 8-point favorite against the injury-riddled Oklahoma City Thunder, who do not have their full team. NBA Finals right now, futures. Oklahoma City still plus 130. Denver's plus 600. San Antonio's only plus 950. Boston plus 1,100. Cleveland plus 1,100. Detroit plus 1,300. Nobody's buying on the Pistons right now on the betting markets. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. Thank you for joining our Everydayer Club and making Locked On the #1 sports podcast. And we had a great run of people joining us on the program right now, on the Supercast program. Jake Newman, welcome. Jake's been with us for a long, long time. John Tucker, glad to have you aboard. Trent Miles, glad to have you aboard. Miles Alden yesterday, all joining our extra Everydayer program. So glad to have you guys aboard, joining our Discord channel and making it the best place for Jazz fans to communicate. Also, if you want to be an Everydayer all-access member, you get one-on-one texting with me. You get Leaf Two Leans bonus content. You get ad-free Locked On Jazz, ad-free Locked On Sports Today. You get access to our merchandise store plus 15% off in the merchandise store. You get a daily newsletter after every show sent to you. It's kind of awesome. It's $15 a month, and you use the promo code JJJ. You get a month free. That's JJJ for a month free, or biannually, you get 2 months for free. It's all at lockedonjazz.supercast.com. That's lockedonjazz.supercast.com. All right, let's go with what do you pay a backup center for a second. Okay, the Jazz next year will have Lauri at 46, Jaren Jackson at 49, Ace at 9, Contract's under contract for 6, Cody's under contract for 6. Here's an interesting one to keep an eye on. You know, I drew up the scenario yesterday where, like, all our guys are coming off the bench. At $3 million, that's fine for Filipowski. At $2.7 million, that's fine for Collier. $5 million for Sensabaugh, that's probably fine because I think he'll be closer to rotation player. Cody, if he's really the 14th man on the roster, it's interesting. Like, he gets $6 million. That gets to be a lot at the end of your bench. So Walker's got to get signed. And then you've got to decide what you're doing with your backup center. Here's some of the numbers around the league to give you an idea. Boston paid Luka Garza 2.4 and Keita 2.4 million. And we're obviously cutting. Denver paid their backup center a lot. Jonas Valanciunas is getting 10.3, and they had Zeke Naji already on the books for 8. So that's a big number. They're on the high end of what you're paying. The Cleveland Cavaliers who have paid Jared Allen to a contract that's probably going to be close to $20 million this year. They'll have Mobley, Donovan, both at 46. They were hamstrung even a little bit more with 3 players. They paid Thomas Bryant $2.2 million. Okay, Nurk's better than that. Detroit really is starting Isaiah Stewart at $15 million and starting Jalen Duren on his rookie deal still at $6 million. So they're unique because they're able to do that on a rookie contract still. They paid Paul Reed $5 million. Nurk made 19 last year. Golden State paid Al Horford $5 million. Houston, if Şengün's starting center, they're paying Adams $14 and Capela $7. That's a lot. The Clippers played Brook Lopez $9. The Lakers paid Jackson Hayes $3.5. Minnesota and Miami still have their centers on a rookie scale contract at $4 or $5 million. Oklahoma City's paying Jalen Williams $8 while having Hartenstein and Holmgren as starters. The Knicks, I can't really figure out what you think of Mitchell Robinson, but let's call him their backup at 12, but it feels high, or it feels like a big number. Orlando is paying Goga Bakazi $8. San Antonio, with Victor still on his rookie scale, is paying Cornette $10. Okay. So Nurk made 19 last year. The high number we're seeing here is Cornette and Jonas Valanciunas at $10 million. Most guys are at 5 or 6. The first thing that's going to happen for Nurk is he's going to have to make a run around the NBA and find out that he doesn't have another $19, $20 million starting NBA contract coming to him. At that moment, he loved playing for Will Hardy. I think he liked Utah. In fact, my last conversation with him, we were talking about where he owns houses. When you make $19 million a year, you hold those discussions. I don't hold those discussions. I don't make $19 million a year. He does. And he actually said, well, I'm going to have one in Salt Lake. So he really loved it. He has Miami, Croatia, and a third place. And he said, and Salt Lake. So he loved it. He loved how Will Hardy used him. He loved his role. He loved his importance. I think he knows if he comes, and he and Walker would probably have a fair competition for minutes on a given night, depending which night worked, and would keep Walker sharp. And I think there's a great value to that for the Jazz. Walker's still young and needs to develop, and there's nights where it works for him. His size, if we're trying to get through San Antonio, there's no question that Nurk's size matters. So can the Jazz roll out 10 for Nurk? The Clayton brothers over at SLC Dunk are probably better than me on some of this cap stuff. The contract that's interesting to me is the deal that Luke Cornette signed in San Antonio in the offseason at 30. So very similar. Cornette gets paid $11 million this year, 10.5 next year, 10 the year after that. And then I believe it's a club option 4th year at 9.5. Now, Cornette's never had a payday like Nurkic, but could the Jazz, and that I don't think the Jazz want to be signing a lot of long-term deals because we're going to be really hamstrung when you have Walker, Keyonte, Jaren, and Lauri all getting paid. But maybe. The other one that is interesting is what we talked about yesterday, is that Jaren Jackson can play backup 5 minutes. So you have to be a little careful about what you're paying your backup 5, when if Walker's really physically ready and able to play 32 minutes a night and Jaren Jackson's playing 10 minutes a night as your backup 5, you're really only looking for 6 to 8 minutes. And if Nurk is your backup center, then you really got to play him at least 15 to 18 minutes a night. And then the next thing that happens there is that Jaren Jackson really just never plays center. Now, again, guys get hurt. The average guy in the NBA misses 11 to 12 games a year. Probably increased. That's an old number. So this one's fascinating. The first question is, what should you pay a backup center? And the numbers I'm about to give you in the next segment will lead you to believe that a backup center may be more important than ever before. The next question is Nurk the right backup center to those numbers? We love Nurk and what he did last year, but is he actually the right number, the right for that in that regard? Because I'll explain something to what Detroit's doing, what a few other teams are doing right now. And then what should we be willing to pay him? If Brook Lopez is getting 9 with the Clippers, and Cornette's getting 10 with the Spurs, and Jonas Valanciunas is getting 10 with the Nuggets, that Clint Capela is getting 7. For a veteran established once starter in the NBA, that feels like the number. If Nurk representation understands that, and it also feels like a number that might be worth it for the Jazz to figure out. And maybe that does open a door for a Nurk return. The question is, based on the numbers I'm about to give you, is Nurk the right one to have return? Today's edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by Indeed. Indeed job search. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing. The one position you have to still fill sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need to have the right hire. This is the job for sponsored jobs by Indeed. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping for the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's the stat that says it all. In a minute, I've been talking to you. Companies like yours will make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check out all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching, more times actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is the job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job a premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support your show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Today's show is also brought to you by Woodward Park City. Enjoy the fun of Woodward Park City. Stoke it up and enjoy all of that they are built there. An incredible terrain park, fun ski resort, indoor, outdoor, extra fabulousness, all taking place right at the base of Parley's Summit. Woodward Park City, there for you to stoke it up, have fun, whether it's the ramps, the tramps, the parks, the pits, whatever it might be. And the Mountain Park season pass is now on sale for $4.99. Rip hot laps with a posse after school or into the evening. Maximize mountain time with one of the best terrain parks in all of Utah. Looking to go all in, the All Access membership provide you that, from passes to perks, discounts, and more. Just starting out, learning to fly, Woodward Tribe in season, multi-week programs build skills, confidence, and Stoke-inspired environments. Spring break, get the kids to learn how to fly. Just 20 minutes from Salt Lake, Woodward offers experiential learning with facilities for all abilities. Learn at woodwardparkcity.com. That's woodwardparkcity.com. The All Access membership, the flagship pass, features unlimited year-round fun, indoors and outdoors. Get everything Woodward Park City can throw at you. Ride, jump, ski, play across every season with unlimited access, indoor mountain access, plus monthly perks, buddy tickets, exclusive member benefits. It's all there. Build confidence, develop skills, and have a blast on the mountain, both indoor and outdoor, at the winter ski and snowboard programs for all ages 4 through 17 at Woodward Park City. The Detroit Pistons are doing something awfully interesting this year, winning a lot of basketball games. So the Pistons have outscored their opponents by 13.3 points per game in the restricted area this year. That's the best differential. This is from John Schumann, NBA.com. That's the best differential of any team in the last 7 seasons, and almost double the differential of any other team this season. The other thing they're doing, just to kind of understand the Pistons, who are best record in the NBA, they're averaging 4.6 more shot opportunities than their opponents. Now, partially because they force a lot of turnovers, which is 17.2, which is the highest rate for any team in the last 6 years, and it actually is working. Usually when you get that high in turnover rate, you become bad defensively. And they rank 4th in offensive rebounding. So they're just stealing possessions. They've actually done what Oklahoma City did last year, won the possession battle. Isaiah Stewart is actually the best rim defender in all of the NBA, which is okay. So there's different ways to do it. So they're doing two things. They're winning the possession battle, and then they're specifically winning the restricted area battle. So I went to look at that. So I didn't do restricted area. I just did 5 feet. And we can do all zones. But I thought this was interesting. Here are the teams in the NBA right now that are allowing the fewest field goals made at inside 5 feet. And this is not like news to the Jazz or people. This might be why the Jazz made the deal. Okay. So the Boston Celtics allow the fewest field goals of any team in the NBA with Queta, Garza, and like a bunch of non-centers at 13.8. They are the 7th best defensive team in the NBA. Oklahoma City allows the next fewest field goals inside 5 feet at 14.2. They're the number 1 defensive team in the NBA. The next is Detroit that allows 15 field goals inside 5 feet. They're the number 2 defensive team in the NBA. San Antonio allows the 4th fewest amount of field goals made inside 5 feet. And they're the 3rd best defensive team in the NBA. The Clippers actually come next, and they are 20 defensively. And the Cavaliers come after that, and they're 11th. And Houston comes after that, and they're 4th. Okay. So the top 4 defensive teams in the NBA are in the top 8 at not allowing you, or top 7 of not allowing you to make a field goal inside 5 feet. And the top 4 are all elite defensively. Boston are in the top 4 in the top 7 defensively, inside 5 feet. It's kind of interesting. If you go to top 8 feet, it doesn't hold anymore, just to let you know. Like I looked at this a little bit as well. Still pretty good. Top 8 feet. So now we're defending a little bit 8 feet. It still holds pretty well. Oklahoma City's 1, they're 1. Boston 2, they're, as I said, 7. Detroit is 3, they're 2. San Antonio's 4, they're 4. Cleveland then bumps in here, who's 11. The Knicks bump in here, who's 12. And then Milwaukee comes in, who's not very good defensively. But it's still the elite defensive teams in the NBA. And then the Clippers. And if you just reduce it down, make it even tighter to the restricted area, Boston 1, Detroit 2, Oklahoma City 3, Houston 4, San Antonio 5. Similar group. The Jazz are actually 7th there at denying rim shots. This was Will Hardy's kind of goal for the season. Jazz are aware of these numbers and these trends, and they're trying to do the same. And when you have Jaren Jackson Jr. and you have Walker Kessler and you have Lauri Markkanen, you should be able to deny shots at the rim. And then that gets to the question of whether you actually invest in your backup center maybe a little bit more than you might have otherwise in Yousef Nurkic if you believe he can do the same thing. And the Jazz this year with Yousef Nurkic as their primary center have done one thing well defensively, and that is deny shots at the rim. That's the one thing that the Jazz did well this year with Nurk, is when Nurk's on the floor, teams take 5% fewer shots at the rim than when the rest of the guys are on the floor. So that's leads to that an investment in Nurk might be worth it. because it solidifies you with Jaren Jackson, Walker Kessler, and Jusuf Nurkic as your centers, always having a big on the floor, always being able to protect the rim. And that's going to be the key to being a good defensive team, is to deny the rim like we did this year, and let's do the other things better than we have with better personnel. And so the question to me really comes is, once Nurk's done his run around the league and finds out there's not a starting center job for him and he's into the backup center role, can the Jazz afford to pay Nurk like the veteran backup previous starting centers in the NBA, Jonas Valanciunas, Brook Lopez, Clint Capela, somewhere in the $7 to $10 million range to be a backup center after they've finished paying Walker Kessler? And if so, maybe the Bosnian Beast returns for another year with the Utah Jazz. That is Locked On Jazz today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thursday edition coming tomorrow. 2 big games coming up between the Jazz and the Pelicans. By the way, if you're following these things, last night was a very good night for the Jazz. The Pelicans beat the Warriors, and the Dallas Mavericks won last night. Jazz separated from Mavericks now by 3 games. The Pelicans are within 1. Very good things. The next 2 games are important for the Jazz and the Pelicans as we match up in Salt Lake City. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you want to follow me on socials, it's DLock09. If you want to join our Everydayer program, I'd love to have you. One-on-one direct texting, interaction, all of that coming to me here on Locked On Jazz. And if you'd like to, it's at lockedonjazz.supercast.com. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked On NBA on YouTube. On audio, check out Locked On NBA. Check out Game Night, every game, every night. But also check out the Big 3 and 30, the 3 biggest stories of the NBA each day.